Hang on, what are we talking about? Because I've forgotten the film.
Barbie! It's fine, I'm going to introduce it and ask you things.
I've forgotten. My short-term memory isn't very good.
Can we not have our knees in it?
I'm just a Barbie girl in a Barbie world.
That's what my voice sounds like.
Yes, Angel, that is
annoying, isn't it?
Sync clap. No, that's made it difficult. Sync clap. Stop it!
That was the same time! Why don't you move the lights so we can see ourselves? You are
because then you're going to stand the whole time staring at yourself.
It'd be like FaceTime, you know, when you don't actually look at the other person. You
Yeah, you'll just look at yourself the whole time if I do that.
Honey, I look at myself anyway. Because I'm Galtair and I'm the star of the show and I'm the authentic observer. I authentically observe things. I observe things authentically.
Are our knees in it?
Yes, probably, Angel. I don't think.
Please don't tell me my toes are in it.
Friday.
No, your toes aren't in it.
Careful what you wish for. You asked us to do this video.
Yeah, I know. Camera's on. I'm going to put this out and expose you.
No, it's not.
It is.
Hi, Barbie.
Who wants to sync clap? No, not the same time.
But why?
You.
If you're gonna get all political, I'm out because I don't understand that. I don't give my consent.
Can we sue you?
No, you can't.
Why not?
You can actually sue anyone you want.
For what? What are you going to take
For
from
anything.
me? My book collection. Have you seen that video?
It's like a hostage video.
Yeah.
Blink twice if you need help.
What?
I'm doing a thumbnail. Like a shocked face in it.
This is like when people are like, oh my god, take my Instagram picture. Let me look candid. Candid.
Right, you can be quiet so I can do this introduction.
What do? Do we just smile awkwardly?
Yes, like you've been held
Don't
hostage.
move.
Okay, hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. And today we are going to be talking about the Barbie movie, which we all went to see together. And then I thought, because it's a girls' movie, for fun, these two ladies are my sisters.
That's discrimination. It's not just a girls' movie.
It's gonna take a long time.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Like and subscribe, comment below. This is not an ad in any way, but I'm wearing.
Join the Galley family, like and comment.
Well, introduce it. So what are we doing?
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Barbie movie. So we went to see it in the cinema. It's a movie for everyone. Let me just say that. Disclaimer, disclaimer. Barbie's for everyone.
You'd be such an annoying influencer.
My name's Dory. My short-term memory isn't very good. And I'm 12 years old. And I really don't want to be here.
My name's Angel. And I don't need to say anything
Okay, right. Oh, also...
Do you want a normal-sized notepad? Fucking hell, like a hobbit.
So, no, this is fine, thanks. So we have, you studied film at university amongst us. So,
well, media production.
Okay, so we're expecting really good commentary.
Yes.
Really good film commentary from you. Okay, so who wants to go first?
What? About what?
Well, what the fuck do you think we're here for?
No, for like...
Okay.
Oppenheimer was great.
Actually wasn't that bad. Well, it was a bit long.
Obviously, the Barbie movie is very controversial because there's a lot of discourse online about it. Did not think the Barbie movie would be one of the most controversial movies of the year, but there we go. So I don't know if you... I did tell you before we watched the movie, I don't know if you guys were aware, but that there was loads of online, like, controversy about the Barbie movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not as aware as you.
Did you know about it before I told you about it?
No.
Know about what? The Barbie movie?
About the controversy.
A little.
Yeah, okay. Because I actually just told them in the car on the way to see it. I was like, because I'd heard, so I'd seen lots of reviews. I initially wasn't going to go see this movie, but then loads of you guys were asking me to review it. And I didn't want to sit down and do a full-on, like, scripted review, so I thought it'd be fun to have us three on to have a chat about it. So I went into it not knowing what to expect, because I'd seen some reviews from people people I really, really respect and admire on YouTube. A lot of them were saying that it was like a feminist disaster, that it was man-hating. Someone said that it was like 2 hours straight of man-hating. Like all this, it was like the worst misandrist thing ever produced. But then also, and I was like, oh wow, okay. But then there were a few other people who I also respect who were saying that's not the case. A lot of it was satire. It's nowhere near as bad as people were saying. It was a fun movie. It was really good. I don't know what people are talking about. So I actually went into it not knowing what to expect, because I didn't know whether it was going to be a complete, like, dumpster fire. Well, that's what, as Ben Shapiro said, he, like, burned a Barbie and said it was, like, the worst movie ever that he'd ever seen ever.
Excessive.
Yeah, I thought that was a very sensational review. So I
didn't and buy the Barbie, giving money to the Barbie to go and burn it.
Yeah. So I didn't know what to expect, whether it was going to be a complete, like, propaganda piece of, like, man-hating, or whether it was going to be, like, quite funny satire. So I went into it with a complete, like, okay. I went into it looking out for all this man-hating stuff, and I'm going to be honest, and I do have criticism. We're going to get to the criticisms later, because I think there is some validity to what those people are saying, because I've written some notes down. There is some validity to those criticisms, so we're going to talk about the criticisms later, but just off the bat, my opinion was, and I know you guys felt the same when we came out, because I said before we went in, right, look out for, like, all this stuff that people are talking about. My feeling was, I know you guys felt the same, that it was, I don't think it deserved at all the level of, like, hate it got, and I can see some points where people can criticise, and again, we'll get to that later, but I think it was really quite an overreaction, and not at all the kind of 2-hour-long I mean, what did you guys think? Did you guys think it was 2 hours of just man-hating, like some people said?
I thought you'd never ask. No, I thought it was good. I just thought that the whole thing was a piss take of everything.
Yeah, that was my...
And I think it was made to be received in whichever way you wanted to receive it. So they probably knew when creating it, people are going to receive it like this, people are going to receive it the opposite, and that's what it is. Like, I don't think they gave a shit. I don't think they put that much thought into it. I think it was literally like a joke.
I disagree about that. I think probably it was quite intentional.
Obviously, you should disagree. You should disagree with everything you're saying.
Actually.
No, obviously, like, it was made with intent, but as in, like, I don't think they put as much thought into it as what these haters are saying. As in, I think it was a light-hearted film that was made.
So I think, so... I'm gonna go, so I'll just quickly say how we're gonna structure this. So we'll talk about the political controversy first, and then we'll go on to talk about, like, different aspects of the movie, and then the criticisms. First thing I'll say, I do really like Greta Gerwig, who, like, she, it's her film, she did Barbie, but she did also the Little Women remake. She did that, which I really, really loved that film.
The new one.
Yeah, the new one. She directed that, and she does a lot of female-led stories. So she also did Lady Bird, which I haven't seen. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you not like that?
It's alright.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, so I can't say. But I do like her. I do like Little Women. I really like that, which I saw. So I think, first of all, I think she's a really, really talented and competent filmmaker. I think that even if I was going to agree with the people who were kind of going a bit insane about, like, the political message is out of control, it's like feminist propaganda, even if I was going to agree with them, I still think it's unfair that they said the movie was just terrible, because a lot of people were saying that it's actually, like, a good movie. Like, the movie itself...
I thought it was fun. I think that was the point. It's just supposed to be like a fun
I was engaged the whole way through.
Yeah.
Which is difficult. I don't normally
for you,
watch films all the way through, but I, like, laughed the whole time, and it was, like, a cute little story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
it just had everything you would want to watch for a nice film,
This movie is not just a piece of shit. This movie is a flaming piece of dog piled atop an entire dumpster on fire, piled atop a landfill filled with dog. I was trying to separate this into problems with plot and problems with character and problems with the politics of the film, but they're all intertwined because the thing is just a mess. Plot-wise, it makes no sense. Character-wise, it makes no sense. This movie is 2 hours. It feels like it is longer than the Wagnerian ring cycle. It does not end. Every scene is at least 2 minutes too long. Every beat is 2 minutes too long. Putting the politics aside, it is a bad movie.
Yeah, I think, so there's a couple of things. I think maybe part of the criticism came from, I think there's a bit of confusion about who the film was aimed at. I think maybe that's where some of the criticism came from. So because it's Barbie, I heard lots of people saying, I wouldn't take, lots of the reviewers who are criticising it saying, I would never take my little girl to see this.
No.
But I think there's a bit of confusion because it's Barbie, and there's been lots of Barbie films in the past that have been marketed at little girls. My feeling watching this was like, I think it's like family friendly in the sense that, like, kids could see it, but I don't think it was aimed at little girls.
Yeah, I think they marketed it wrong. I think they shouldn't have pushed the whole Barbie, like, it wasn't just the Barbie film, it was like everything with it. There's been Barbie merchandise being sold, and like, you know, every clothes shop you go into, there's like kids Barbie clothes in, you know, for the Barbie movie, which was wrong because they've made it like it is a kids film, and, you know, kids taking pictures, and you wear pink to go and watch it. And that is a problem because there was children probably in there as young as like 5, I would say.
I think it was more of a chick flick. Like, you wouldn't take a really young kid. It was like
it's like
teen.
A
so I think Angel, did you say this? Did you say that it was a film? It was a film for kids who'd grown up with Barbie.
Midori said that.
Yeah, so it's a film for people who'd grown up with Barbie and who are now like adults, rather than a film
kids
for
now.
And I would agree with that. I think my feeling watching it was that it felt in the same kind of vein as like chick flicks, but that would be aimed at like I would say tweens.
Something like Wild Child Angus Thongs, kind of like there's those undertones of the jokes that like you would get if you're older, and also like, you know, when you're sort of a teenager
it's
and
not
whatever.
It's not I wouldn't take a kid because it's inappropriate, more just I don't think they understand.
They wouldn't understand.
Yes, so that's the thing. It wasn't hugely inappropriate for kids. I think there were some inappropriate things that were quite funny, but they would go over a kid's head. So I like a kid, I think it'd be fine a kid watching it, but is it for them? Not necessarily, because I think a lot of the
They should have made that a lot more clear, though.
Yeah, I think it was very much, I would say probably from like 10 years old and up was like probably who it was aimed at. Like the like tween girls to like older women and people who'd grown up with Barbie. So actually though, we never grew up, none of us ever had Barbies.
I swear I had a Barbie.
The film though, Barbie and the Magic of Pegasus.
Yeah, so we did watch some of the Barbie films when we were little, but
I swear I had a Barbie at one point.
I mean, I feel like none of us really had a huge emotional attachment to this film though, because I heard lots of people, like young women, like kind of, you know, from our different ages going, but they had grown up with Barbies, they loved Barbies, it was like, well that's the thing, that's worth saying initially. I'm not a Barbie fan, I've never really been a Barbie fan, those two haven't really either, we didn't grow up with Barbies. I watched some of the Barbie movies as a kid, but...
You had a Barbie birthday cake, could you remember?
Oh yeah, you did. There's a picture of that.
You did like Barbie.
We didn't have any though. I had one Barbie birthday
I'm
cake.
sure I had a Barbie.
No, because I remember.
I ripped its legs off, I'm sure.
Yes.
You were the one with the weird Barbie.
Yeah, I was the one with the weird Barbie.
Yeah. No,
I used to like burn her.
Because I remember going to like friends' houses and they had Barbies and I'd be like, oh, Barbies, and then I'd like play with them because we didn't have Barbies.
Maybe it was a Barbie knockoff.
I had a Bratz doll and that was, I think maybe like our grandparents got
Baby
that for
Annabelles.
None of us like diehard Barbie fans, so we actually went into this and like it was a good fun movie to enjoy, whether I think you're a Barbie fan or not. I went into it really looking out for like any of these kind of man-hating messages, and I understand where that feeling's come from, and again we'll get to that later, but I really don't think, I think a lot of that is quite a, you know, so my feeling is I think people have gotten, it's like pattern recognition. I think because people are so used to, there's a lot of mainstream films that are either really put the political messaging before it or who are like over the top kind of overtly man-hating or just making men look stupid to make women look better. I think people saw this and then like a lot of it was, I guess, immediately then, like, for want of a better word, triggered into then that of like, oh, this is yet another movie in that same vein. I don't know if that's entirely fair to say that. And also my other criticism is, I'm someone who's been very critical of that kind of media where it makes men look stupid in order to make women look better, because I think that's offensive to both. Yeah, of the overt political messaging before the story. One thing I would say is I don't think in this case that the political messaging, and there was a little bit of it, but I don't think it ruined the story, because in a lot of cases when that happens, they care about that more than anything else, and they put that above storytelling. And that's always, you know, been one of my main criticisms, is you've got to put storytelling before like whatever message you want to say. And I think this didn't have to sacrifice the quality of it for the messaging. So, I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, I think also it being like modern day now, and with all the political things going on, people were looking for something in it.
They always
Whereas
are.
if it came out 20 years ago, people would just be like, oh, it's a Barbie film, this is, you know, it is what
But
it is.
that's the case with
Whereas like
everything.
nowadays, it's like people are looking to be triggered by something or annoyed by something or find a deeper message when it's just
It
a fun
is
film.
just a fun film.
So the first thing I want to say, because I'd heard, one of the main criticisms that I heard before going into this movie was that it's really like anti-traditional women, which is something I've been critical of because I don't like the kind of looking down on kind of femininity and like that aspect. So there was that narrative, people were saying, well, it's really anti-motherhood because So we'll get into this. Okay, this is the first topic. Do we think the film is anti-motherhood? So one criticism people said going into it was, so you have the little girls playing with dolls. There's an opening scene, and it's meant to be the history of dolls and the history of Barbie. And it says, oh, before Barbie, little girls would play with dolls and they play mummies, and this was fun for a while, and you know. And then came Barbie, and they kind of did I've never actually seen it, but supposedly they did it like 2001: A Space Odyssey, where Barbie's kind of like this new modern. You know, she's like this huge fit, you know, and then it's like Barbie enters the scene, and then all these little girls who were playing with their dolls, they then smash up these their babies, and then run and flock to Barbie. So before that, I'd heard about that scene before, and people were saying that, so it's an anti-motherhood message. It's like, oh yeah, little girls, don't be mothers, you know, kill your babies, and go, you know, flock to Barbie. So, okay, so I'll say my feeling on that scene. It was that when I watched that, I thought, I feel like this is not meant to be taken anywhere near as seriously as people are saying it. I feel like this scene feels quite like satire. It feels a bit silly. But the other thing to remember, so people were saying this was a feminist message. The thing people really need to remember as well is that, so this film is co-signed by Mattel, who make Barbie, like the Barbie company. So I don't see it so much as a feminist message of like disrespecting motherhood, but it's a film like working with Mattel, who created Barbie. Obviously, the message in that is going to be, our product is better and more exciting than everything that came before it. I don't think that's so much an anti-motherhood message as it is just, it's a company saying, here's our product, this is the, you know, and to be fair...
It's showing the influence Barbie had on...
Exactly, it's showing the influence of Barbie historically, and to be fair, that's not entirely inaccurate either. Like, before Barbie, it was just, you know, kids would play with baby dolls.
I think as well, like, kids are kids, and whenever a new toy comes on the scene, they'll drop the old toy for the new toy.
Yeah.
And I think that would have happened with anything, whether it was a doll or not, like, or something else.
Yeah.
If suddenly everyone's got this new toy, they're gonna not want the old one. They're gonna want the new one. That's what kids are like.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was and also, without spoiling the film, but like,
you can spoil the film. This is gonna be spoilers.
The whole like film journey was a mother and her daughter, really.
Yeah.
So like, how is that
anti-mother?
Yeah, and also she does say at one point as well when she was talking, like, it's if you want to be a working mum or a businesswoman without kids, then that's great. But if you also just want to be a mum, that's also fine. Like, she said that. So what?
Yeah.
They wouldn't put that in the film if they didn't think.
Yeah.
I thought the scene was a bit intense. I wasn't expecting that. Them to all smash up the babies.
Yeah, it was, but I didn't think it was meant to be taken seriously.
No, I didn't take it seriously. I was just a bit like, whoa.
But the point is, like, I saw that more as Mattel. Rather than a feminist thing, I just saw it more as Mattel being like, our product...
No, it wasn't a feminist
is better than any other product. Because that was true, because before that point, like when Barbie first came out, there was a lot of controversy about it seeming like the doll had boobs. That was like a huge deal. Remember, so our mum said that, I think, was it yeah, I think when she was a kid, Barbie was just starting to come out.
Was it like the first doll that wasn't a baby?
Yeah, so our grandma didn't let our mum have Barbie because she thought it was too sexualised because it had boobs. She was like, that's disgraceful. I'm not giving my little girl a doll with boobs. Because all the dolls before then had just been like little girls and babies. So that's accurate that Barbie came on the scene and changed that. And I can understand that it's true that then became one of the most popular, I think it probably is the most popular doll for little girls rather than babies. Now, is that anti-motherhood thing, or is that just how history worked out and how that just seems to be true? And I can understand why, because as a little girl, yeah, it's fun to play with a baby doll, and most little girls I knew as well would have like a baby doll as well as Barbies. That didn't, you know...
But I think you still play with Barbie in a maternal way, because it's like you look after Barbie. Like,
yeah.
People do
but
like,
also,
like doll tea parties and things like that.
True. But also the appeal of Barbie is that, like, and everyone, like, all little girls are like this. When you see the big girls, you look at them and you're like, wow, they're like, you guys remember this, looking at older girls. So Barbie's like an older girl with her glamour and fashion. You're like, wow, I want to be just like her when I grow up.
With Barbie, she's bright pink, everything in her packaging is pink. It's like, it catches your eye. What little girl's not going to want a bright pink plastic doll with
all the fashion?
Or like, you can buy endless clothing, you can dress her, and you know, little girls that dress up in their mother's heels or in their dresses, but you can do that through Barbie. So it's like, you can buy Barbie all the new shoes and the toys and the clothes, and she can wear makeup that you're maybe not allowed to wear. She can wear heels that you're not allowed to wear. So it's like almost living through Barbie.
It's like playing pretend of how you like to. It's like
and you can like
how you like to be when you were a grown up.
Yeah, and like you make her a house and like you know, in my head, I'd be like, oh, that's like where I would want to live, and I'd do this.
And she's got her boyfriend,
she's got
Ken,
a car.
and like,
because like when you're a little girl, you don't want to be a baby. You want to be a big girl.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't want to be like your baby Annabelle. You want to be like Barbie, but you want to look after baby Annabelle.
Yeah.
It's also worth saying, and again, I didn't really pick up on this because I haven't seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, but this opening scene of Barbie is obviously meant to be a homage to that, and the girls smashing the dolls is like the apes, you know, smashing the bones. So I think it's a little bit disingenuous to say that they kind of just invented, well, I don't think people are saying it, but to present this scene as a really extreme anti-motherhood of little girls killing their babies, like I heard. I mean, it's obviously a mimicry of that scene to show Barbie as like the hip new modern thing, you know, like we were in the Stone Ages and then Barbie came along. And I get that, you know, you can make the argument that it's showing like traditional womanhood as being the Stone Ages and, you know, women need to be commercial. But yeah, there's criticisms there to be had, but I still think it's more to do with commercialism than it is feminism. Like, it's Mattel. It's pro-Mattel. I think I think that criticism is a lot stronger if we don't acknowledge the fact that Barbie's a product and that Mattel didn't have something to do with it. If it was a film separate from that, I would say, oh yeah, there's really a point here about them disrespecting like traditional motherhood. But because it's Mattel trying to present their product in the best light, I just see it as them saying our product came along and revolutionized the toy industry and it's the best new thing and everyone threw out their old dolls. Because that is kind of true. And like, so I see it more like that. I think it's a little bit unfair to miss all that context around this scene, as I've seen a few people do. So, yeah.
It starts with Helen Mirren explaining that back in the day, girls would only play with dolls that look like babies. And then she says that this could be fun, at least for a while anyway. Ask your mother, because your mother actually hates you and doesn't like being a mom, you see. So if you ask your mom, she wants to play at not being a mom sometimes. Okay, so the basic premise is Barbie is supposed to be the independent woman who liberates all womanhood. But she fails. And she fails for two reasons. One, she's actually a tool of the patriarchal capitalist system. And two, the real world has rejected the message of Barbie, which is that women should run everything.
So if that scene had been taken with loads of other scenes that disrespected motherhood, I might agree with that criticism of the movie. But like you said, Midori, the film... one of the core messages of the film was about a mother-daughter relationship. It was about motherhood. So I was a bit confused with that criticism that it was anti-motherhood because it seemed very much like the core of it. One of the themes was about a mother-daughter relationship between, you know, the little girl and her mum, and then also we had a little bit of that with Barbie. It was like at the end she like found a mother because she was like a doll. If you remember the last scene, it was very much she was treated like a surrogate daughter from the creator of Barbie. And it was like she found a mother and it was like their relationship. Yeah. And then the scene at the end, by the way, when she was like, oh, what's it like to be human? So many of that was scenes of mothers and their little girls. Yeah. Do you remember that? It was like, oh, this is... And it was like very like celebratory of that. So I don't think that's really very fair criticism.
No, whoever said that is stupid.
Okay, I wouldn't say that, but... So the other criticism they was like anti-man was that Ken was the real villain of the Barbie movie.
Ken stole the show.
Yeah, so first of all, Ryan Gosling's performance, he was brilliant.
Yeah, he was funny. I mean, he is funny. But
yeah. So there's obviously the criticism that it became a anti-male message about men being evil, that men were evil, that all the Kens basically took over Barbie land and started subjugating the Barbies. And I think that's why people are like, oh my god, it's such a woke movie. But I don't think it was portrayed in that way. So... yeah, because it started off, Ken was a really sympathetic character. Yeah. I think, I found him really likeable. I didn't think they made him like he's an evil man who wants to take over just because he's a man.
It was almost like he was a child.
I felt sorry for Ken.
Yeah. So in Barbie Land, basically, the Barbies ran it all. The Kens were kind of ignored, and...
They were only something...
The Barbies. Okay, so this is the thing. People are like, oh my god, it's such a feminist, man-hating message. The Barbies will have these dream houses, and the Kens don't even have anywhere to live. They're homeless because they didn't live in the dream houses. And the Barbies were like president. The Barbies were like did every job, and they were really super cool. And the Kens just hung around waiting for Barbie's attention. Again, I didn't see that as a feminist message. I just saw that as a hilarious commentary on the fact that that's how Barbie is, like the product. Yeah. Is actually like that. So, because obviously...
It's not aimed at boys.
Exactly, because it's aimed at little girls, obviously the Barbie, she's like, it has President Barbie, Air Hostess Barbie, Doctor Barbie, like Barbie, Lawyer Barbie.
Because you wouldn't take your mum... Like, that's the thing, because you wouldn't, as a child, go to the toy shop to buy Ken. you would go to buy Barbie, and then if you were lucky on your birthday, you'd get Ken to be with Barbie.
Yeah.
It's always Barbie first, and that was the point of the film. Ken was like, I'm nothing without you.
But
which he isn't.
Yes, so I actually remember, okay, now you've said that, I think when I was really, really little, you've triggered a memory. Before I was 5, I think I did have Barbies, and then we didn't have them. Because I have a really vivid memory.
We did have them, yeah.
We didn't have them when we were older though, we did, like, but when I was really little, so when we lived in Newcastle, I had, because I remember I desperately wanted, I think it was even a G.I. Joe that I got in the end because I didn't have Ken. I desperately wanted like a boy doll because I had a girl doll. Yeah. But I wanted a boy one to go with it. But I wouldn't have gone to the shop just to get like a boy. I didn't care about him. No. I was just like,
accessory.
Yeah, he was an accessory. It's like, but I've got the girl doll. Oh, she needs a boyfriend. Where is, and that's what I wanted. I remember like going to get, but would I have gone to get like a G.I. Joe or like a Ken? No, but that's the point, is because that's the little girl's mentality, is that they don't care about Ken because it's about Barbie. I don't think it was a feminist thing. I think it was just the product, and it's funny. It wasn't also portrayed as a good thing. It wasn't. I don't think it was meant to be how our world should be. I think it was just, this is Barbie land, and you felt sorry for the Kens. You felt sorry for them because they were just, you know, they didn't really have anything to do, and the Barbies just didn't really care about them. And
but I think they were showing that though, because they showed like when Kens ruled Barbie land, it was like awful. But then they also kind of showed when Barbies ruled it also wasn't good either.
Yeah, it wasn't good for the
I think the whole point
Kens.
was it was kind of, it should be a balance. I think that's kind of what it came to at the end anyway.
Okay, I disagree with that, but we'll get to that later. That's one of my criticisms of the film, where it kind of, I think, added fuel to the fire of the criticisms against it. But, but I thought that Ken... what? I thought Ken wasn't portrayed as evil or wrong, so I actually thought it was really cute when he went to the real world and was finding out about the patriarchy. It was actually adorable.
I think it was literally him being like, oh my god, I've got my own life.
Yeah, it was really cute. Like I thought,
but I think it was kind of like a little boy, like, oh, I'm just going to be an astronaut, not thinking about the logistics behind it.
Yeah,
it was just like, oh, I'll be a doctor. And
yeah,
like, well, I don't think you know how.
Yeah, and it was just very cute because he goes and he sees, because he goes to the real world, and suddenly there's, because in Barbie land everything's about Barbie. Every person who's important is a Barbie. And he goes to the real world and he sees like a picture, and there's a man who's the president of the United, and he's looking, he's like, wow. And there's all these, like, there's sports and there's beer and there's the flag of America, and there's horses, and then he kind of gets it in his head that somehow patriarchy has something to do with men and horses. And it's very cute, and he gets all these books about like cowboys and like, but I saw that as, I don't think the movie didn't portray him as evil or wrong for doing that. It like gave him like an outlet and something to. I don't really get that whole thing that it was supposed to be that he was evil, and Barbie Land, where it was a matriarchy, was how it's supposed to be. I just thought it was Ken finding. Okay, and I have an argument for this.
God,
it made me tired.
Yeah.
An argument for that though. So do you remember? So Ken goes into.
You argue with your own points.
Yeah, I know. So she's got seven personalities. What do you think? I don't know. What do you think?
Right, but I was going to say, so...
Oh my god, you can hear my feet clicking on the microphone.
So your bones are crumbling.
No, you're not putting that in.
Right, okay, right, go on then. What do you guys think about Ken? And being evil?
I loved Ken. I thought he was really funny. I honestly thought, like, his character was just there to add the comedy and, like, to take the piss out of everything. And...
What do you think about the argument that they made the Kens really stupid? And to make the Barbies look better?
No, I think they made the Kens really stupid because it was funny.
But I would say I thought they made the Barbies stupid as well.
Yeah,
like
they were all stupid.
Yeah, they were
dolls.
dolls.
Also, it was kind of, I think it was reflected because they showed how the Kens were really stupid around Barbie, but then when Kens took over, all the Barbies were really stupid around Ken.
Yeah.
So I think it was just kind of both. It was just they were so desperate to get their attention.
I didn't think Barbie was portrayed as like this feminist hero. Like the only reason she wanted to go and try and save the world.
Like, she wasn't that fucking brave.
No, the only reason she wanted to save the world was because she was worried she would get cellulite. Like that is really stupid. That's a really stupid motivation.
She wasn't like that intelligent or brave or like exactly like you're saying. Her like reasons for doing things were really shallow, and she was still really scared to do it. She's like, I'm not doing it.
And she also wasn't that smart. Like Ken was a himbo, yes, like he was dumb, but she was a bimbo. Like they were equal in terms of bimbo, himbo. Like they were kind of equally as incompetent and silly, I think. The whole thing, people were saying that Ken goes to the real world, and the real world was portrayed as like, they were showed our world as like this patriarchal well, not hell, but like that the real world was really patriarchal and oppressed women. What do you think? Did they think they did that in the movie?
Well, yeah, obviously they
a little bit.
They overdid it, like with the whole Will Ferrell thing, like him and his, like that was like them completely playing on that, and they were just like taking on them roles, but putting them 10 times of what people say.
I don't.
That makes sense.
There's one thing I can think of where I think they went over the top, but I think because. So people were saying that they portrayed our world as like a really stereotypical patriarchy, but I don't think that. I think it was taking the piss out of people who think our world.
No, that's what I was just trying to say.
Oh, sorry, yeah. But I think they were taking the piss out of people who think our world is a patriarchy.
Yeah.
As shown by Ken, he reads all these books on the patriarchy, and he basically becomes like a stereotypical, I guess, social justice warrior or wokeist who thinks that the patriarchy works like that. So he goes into places and tries to get jobs, and he goes, because I'm a man. Like, that kind of stupid, stereotypical idea that men can just walk in anywhere and get anything because of male privilege. It's like, he believes that, but he takes the piss out of that idea. Because he goes in and he goes, I would like to perform surgery, please. So like the doctor, and the doctor's like, no, you're not a doctor. And he goes, but I'm a man. And she's like, but you're not a doctor.
And then he says, can I please speak to a doctor? And she's like, I am a doctor.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't show our world as like a male run. Like, I think that was a bit weird. It doesn't show, I think it shows our world as quite accurate. And again, he goes into like, you know, business places and to try and, he goes, I'd like to become CEO and I'd like a job here. And they go, but no, you've got no, what do you mean? You can't just walk in here and get a job just because you're a man. So I think it took the piss out of that. And the one thing, because he said that to one of the characters, but I'm a man, doesn't kind of, and the guy actually said, actually, that makes it kind of a bit harder now, which was funny, you know, maybe a little bit accurate. But, so I don't think it did that. The only comment that was in support of that was when he said, oh, yeah, we still do have patriarchy, but we just got to be low-key about it now.
Better at hiding it.
Yeah, we're better at hiding it. So I think it took the piss out of both sides and was quite balanced in that, and I think the people who were saying it was, like, really woke are only paying attention to the woke things and not to the taking the piss out of that, because I think if, like, they're kind of ignoring all the other things that kind of contradict their argument, I think.
And it was also taking the piss out of, like, men in a really funny way of, like, the macho-ness.
Yeah, and like when Ken was saying to Barbie, like, do you want to be a, like, my long-term low-commitment girlfriend thing?
Yeah.
And she was like, okay. Like, you know, it was very much playing on that whole, like,
and when,
it wasn't.
And, like,
serious.
when Barbie was, like, again, when they were running after Barbie and they couldn't find the key card to get through the thing, it's like none of them jumped over it.
Yeah.
Like, it just takes the piss out of all of it. It wasn't...
Well, they had a moment when they were in the office. I think it took the piss out of virtue signalling of people who were like, because they literally was, you know, they just did a load of virtue signalling. He was talking about, oh, I know so many women, I love what, you know, and then he said, all my friends are Jewish, which obviously was totally, like, irrelevant. But I thought it took the piss out of, like, woke virtue signalling as much as it did anything else.
Yeah.
I just took the piss out of everything. It was just a funny film.
But also, because people were saying the little girl was really woke, and, like, but again, I don't think she was meant to be taken seriously. Like,
I think she was kind of a stereotype of the younger generation as well. Like, thinking that she's so moody and, like, hates the world and it's like everything's the world's problem.
Yeah.
Well, she called Barbie a fascist, which was obviously completely ridiculous. I don't think that was meant to be taken, like, seriously. I think that was meant to be ridiculous. And also she, like, said she was there was that scene, she goes, what a nutcase, and she corrects herself. She goes, oh, I mean, reality challenged person. So I think it took the piss out of, like, political correctness. I don't think it was a really PC movie.
No, it wasn't.
The people were saying that it portrayed men as really evil, and that they were, like, really sexual harassing when they went into the real world, because, you know, when she, like, roller skated in and Ken was like, oh, I feel comfortable, and she was like, I feel really uncomfortable, and then she got, like, a guy, like, grabbed her. But my understanding of that, yes, it was over the top, but I understood that as that Barbie Land, that it was telling the story of a journey of a girl going from a girl to a woman. So Barbie Land was like this innocent world where she was a little girl, and she wasn't that interested in Ken, because every night was girls' night and she wanted to have sleepovers with her friends. She wasn't that interested in boys. And my understanding was that I felt like that was actually very real. Like, I don't think it was portraying all men as evil. I think it was just a scene that was obviously over the top, but meant to show how it can be for a young girl to be really uncomfortable, to go from being a little girl where you're not sexualized, and then suddenly you're in that, and it's really, you don't know what to, I read it as that rather than men are evil. I read it as a a journey of a girl growing up, and talking about female, like, genuine, like, female experiences doesn't have to be a man-hating thing. I don't know why people, like, that can be true without it hating on men. What did you guys think about that theme?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think of it like that.
I think also it was also her becoming more aware of it, because even when she was in Barbie Land, all the Kens were looking at her like, oh my god, it's Barbie, like, she's amazing, but she wasn't self-conscious of it. Whereas when she was in the real world, it was kind of her becoming aware of the fact that people were looking at her, and it was more like, oh, like, you know, it was a bit more...
But I mean, I completely missed that, and I just thought it was because she was wearing ridiculously bright clothes.
Yeah, they were really
so
ugly.
people were just staring.
Yeah, that was part of it.
And it's Margot Robbie.
Yeah, that was part of it, but also it was, she did get grabbed. And it was, they did have that theme. I'm pretty sure she did.
No, she got wolf whistled.
She punched someone, didn't someone grab her?
Oh yes, they did, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, because I think that's, I don't know, I think that's quite authentic to, like, the female experience of going from, like, a little girl to a woman.
That message makes sense.
Like, and a lot of people I saw kind of like criticising that quite heavily were blokes. Not that that's a bad thing, but I think they maybe missed that message, which I got from it. I thought that was the message.
Yeah, because they've not experienced that.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
So I doubt this is intentional, and this is probably me reading way too much into this. I don't necessarily think this was an intentional message of the movie. But what's interesting, and what it does think it illustrates, is, so we've gone from, we've got Barbie and Ken. Barbie, who, you know, she's Barbie, she's used to be in the centre of attention, and then Ken, who feels very unseen. They go into the real world, and everyone's kind of looking at them, and whether it's because of the ridiculous outfits or it's a commentary on sexualization, but it's interesting their different reactions. I think probably unintentionally, but it says something different about the differences between the male-female experience. So Barbie says she feels really uncomfortable because everyone's staring and looking at her, but Ken, he says he feels powerful, and I know lots of people have taken that and says, you know, it's a commentary on how men have it easy in the world and whatever. But I think there's if unintentional, but interesting meaning there about, for the first time, he's being noticed, he's being looked at, he feels... So there's something interesting there about... And this is a topic for a different time, this is kind of going off piece and off topic here, but I was talking to a friend a little while ago, talking about the male-female experience and how there's often a disconnect there, because... for women, it can be uncomfortable. So, like, sometimes it's not, sometimes it can be flattering, but sometimes it can feel threatening and uncomfortable if you're getting loads of attention or the wrong kinds of attention. Sometimes that is kind of scary. But then for men, if they feel unseen or, like, they feel like they're not getting, like, a lot of men, if they feel like they're not really getting that attention, or then they can potentially be resentful at women and say, well, you know, it's like each kind of wants what the other has in a weird way. So they kind of it's like, well, why, you know, I don't even have that, no one is even paying me attention. And that's a real thing, and that's a real struggle, and that's a real, like, problem. And then on the other hand, you got women saying, well, aren't you lucky? You don't have people harassing you or whatever, but then not seeing the flip side of it, that if you're just ignored and unseen, that can be really painful too. So I think that's probably unintentional, but I think that's an interesting kind of message there about the difference in the experiences, and then the kind of miscommunication thing that arises. Like, both things have pros and cons, and both things have their downfalls, and both things can be really horrible in different ways. And it's just like bridging that gap in those different experiences. And that is totally a topic for another time, but that was just something I thought about editing, and I had to put it in because I can't stop talking. Are you tortured by never knowing what happened to the unreleased scripts from my unfinished video series, like parts 2 and 3 from my review of Netflix's Winx? Are you kept awake at night, pondering what mysteries the 30 minutes I cut from my Rolo video could hold? 30 key minutes where I addressed his unhinged rant that it's impossible for women to have heroes' journeys or be good protagonists. Did you enjoy channel videos like, I become a narcissist, I declare war on mosquitoes, and of course, the classic, I talk and 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 talk? If the answer to any of those questions is yes, then joining my online cult could be the right choice for you. That's right. Over at The Authentic Observer on Patreon, you'll get access to unreleased scripts from videos I never uploaded, the cut sections from longer videos, if there are any, and hours of unedited rambles. I talk about everything, like how important mood is in storytelling and the difference, if any, between masculine and feminine points of view in writing. Or a video discussing the poetry of some of my patrons. Or that time Fresh and Fit had a proud grapist on their podcast. Remember Scientology? Old news. The Authentic Observer is the hip new cult on the block. All the cool kids are signing up. You do want to be cool, don't you? There are so many options to choose from. Our entry-level tier, Skirts and Stockings, is a great choice for beginners. Overgrown Harry Potter kids may feel more at home as a devoted follower of ACES. And for the alpha males amongst you, the woodshed could be just what you need. Just don't let Rolo see you. No one knows what he does to the men he catches. The Authentic Observer cult operates on an honesty system. All tiers have the same access to content, the idea being to support the channel and the content produced here at whatever level you feel appropriate. At the moment, I don't take sponsorships, so if you value the content on this channel and would like to support me, that's where to do it. Link down below in the description box. So if, like myself, you enjoy listening to the sound of my voice, hop on over to Patreon for an offer you don't want to miss. Join a cult today!
That's not much longer.
My
This is
neck
how
hurts
videos
from,
work.
like, holding it up.
I know, but you get paid for this.
Yeah, do we not get commission from this video?
Yeah.
In fact,
Like and subscribe below. No, comment below if you think Angel and I should get paid from this video.
we should actually get commission. We're like, actually like, yo, this is your job. We're working for you.
Yeah.
This is
You said
labour.
you wanted to be in it.
Guys, this is slave language.
I'm getting hungry.
Getting bored.
This is why you guys can be YouTubers, because you just can't sit and film. That's how it works, I'm afraid.
I would YouTube like Molly May.
Vlog.
Yeah,
Does she vlog?
a vlog.
So I want to talk as well about Ken's patriarchy. Ken, basically, after he's gone to all these places asking for jobs and it didn't work, he didn't just get hired because he was a man, he goes back to Barbie Land to create a patriarchy. And what I understood from that wasn't that that was meant to be how the real world works, but that his, like, little boy's fantasy of I should be able to do anything because I'm a man didn't work in the real world, because that's not how reality is. So when he created patriarchy in Barbie Land, I read that as it was a little boy's fantasy, just like Barbie Land before that had been a little girl's fantasy. I don't think it was meant to be like a commentary on how the world really is. I thought it was how a little boy would like his Mojo Doja Casa house. And like he, you know, and the, you know, but I didn't read him as a villain either, because he was just doing what Barbie had done before, like with his every night is boys' night. Was her saying, you know, every night is girls' night.
Yeah, it was
just
literally the same as
reversed.
what she did. So, like, people can't kick off about it.
Yeah. And he was a really sympathetic character. I didn't think he was evil at all.
And even when he was trying to be really cool Ken with his fur coat, he was still an idiot. Like, he made so many mistakes. Like, he'd trip over and he was like, Barbie was like, oh, do you want to go out? Like, she was trying to trick him and he was like, let me think about it. And he said yes straight away. Like...
Well, that's what I read it as. I read it, he wasn't an evil villain who hated women. I read it as...
He just wanted his 5 minutes of fame like she had had.
But also, he was just doing everything he could think of to try and get Barbie's attention, and what had happened before hadn't worked, so it was literally like, maybe if I build a patriarchy, she'll finally want to go out with me. That was like... He was a really sympathetic character, really, like, heartwarming, and I don't think he was... I didn't read him as the villain at all.
No.
And I don't think other people have. Like, everyone, even people who are really left-wing or really who watch the movie, from my understanding, they all love Ken.
Yeah, I don't see how you couldn't. Not with all those dance numbers and...
People were saying that Ken was obsessed with Barbie and it was all, like, female-worshipping movie. The meaning of the movie was that Ken shouldn't have based his life around worshipping Barbie. And at the end, didn't she? I think she apologised to him.
Well, she was like, you are your own person.
Yeah, and she says to him, you can't base who you are around me. And the end of the movie is like, go and find yourself, go and be a man, become who you're meant to be.
Yourself,
and base your identity and your worth not on worshipping a woman, not on worshipping me, but on finding who you are and having your own passions in life. It was like an anti-simping movie.
Yeah.
It was literally, because he was this massive simp and it never worked. And
just tell him to grow up and become a man.
Yeah, she basically said, but grow up and become a man. And I think And I don't think because some people were saying that she treated him terribly. I don't think she did. She just wasn't interested in him. She wasn't like great to him. Like the Barbies overall didn't treat the Kens well, but that particular Barbie with that particular Ken, she just wasn't interested in him. I don't think she treated him badly. She just wasn't interested. But then at the end, it was they had kind of a reconciliation.
She did kind of apologise for giving the wrong signals, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, I think she apologised for like ignoring how he felt.
Yeah.
And like the fact that the Kens were ignored and their feelings weren't listened to. The criticism I have of the movie, where I think this is where it lends it lends credence to the arguments people have about it. I was a bit disappointed at the end. I thought they were going to have some kind of equilibrium so that the Kens wouldn't go back to how it was before and that they would be ignored, because that wasn't portrayed as a good thing. But then at the end, the Barbies all took control again. And they did give the Kens a little bit of power, but then they kind of, tried to make a commentary on about how, oh, no, Ken's gaining power in Barbie Land will happen slowly, just like it has with women in the real world.
Yeah, that was a bit annoying.
And I thought, like, do you have to do that? Why can't you just end the movie with, like, a wholesome message of...
Everyone's equal.
Yeah, of, like, listen to the Kens. Give that... It would have been nice if they'd had, oh, I understand the Kens aren't feeling listened to. Let's build them their own, like, houses and places to live or something.
Yeah.
And let's... Because that is where... When people go, oh, it was man-hating, I'm like, I can understand why, taken with that. It's like, I don't know why you had to do that. I don't know what the point of that was. It only...
But then I suppose it's just going back to Barbie will always be Barbie, isn't it?
I guess so. So if you take it in terms of that it's about, rather than a man-woman thing, about it being a product thing, of that Barbie is the product, I guess it makes sense. But
that's why I think, like, the whole movie could be taken in so many different ways. Like, you can take it offensively and take it with all these political messages, or you can literally just be like, it's a funny film, and that's what all it is meant to be.
Yeah.
Which is quite good, because it's not just got one...
There was the woke speech. That was the one thing I can think of that was explicitly woke, that wasn't a joke. So that was explicitly woke. That's the one thing I can really think of, is this one character had like a little monologue that was a woke monologue, where it started off by her saying, it's impossible to be a woman, which I thought...
and it was like all the negatives, like you can't, or like they expect you to work, but they also expect you to be a good mum, and they expect you to do this. It's like, yeah, but also, God, am I going to get cancelled for saying this? But like that could also go for dads. Like, think of how many dads, single dads or not, also want to be really good dads, but also feel the pressure to be the breadwinner.
Yeah,
like
really good point.
Like you can't just say that's for women. Yeah, of course, like.
Like
all women have maybe felt it more in the past, but like
all the issues are valid, but I think it was a bit sort of...
It was a bit like...
victim mentality, like, oh, but how, like, we've just been...
My issue with that wasn't necessarily what she was saying, but the implication, which it was implied in that scene, the implication that men didn't have anywhere near as much struggles as women did. Yeah. That was what I didn't like about that scene.
But it's a generalisation, because that's not fair. Like, yes, a lot of men probably don't, and like... You know, they have wives that will raise their kids for them or whatever, and they don't really care. But there's also loads of men out there that are either single dads and are trying to do everything, trying to be a mum and a dad, as there are women trying to do both. But like also dads that, you know, want to work and want to have a career, but also want to be as part of their kids' lives as their mum is. Yeah. So like but it felt very much like an attack, like. This is all women and all men have it easier.
Yeah, that was the underlying tone of that speech, was that because she said, oh, it's impossible to be a woman, and I would have preferred it. Okay, because our mum actually asked us what if we could sum up when we got back, if we could sum up how the meaning of the film, what would it be? And I said the message I got from it was what it is to be human. Yeah. I don't think it was as much to do with gender as people say it was. Yeah. When I watched it, it was about a doll becoming human and learning what humanity was and what it meant to be human.
And like as the film went on, she became less of a doll and more of a human in terms of her feelings. Like at the beginning, it was very like cold and like even just the things she said, it was almost robotic. But then as she spent time in the real world, and then towards the end, she was speaking like a human. She had feelings, she had thoughts, and she was connecting with the real world. And I think that, and like when she met Ruth, the lady who invented Barbie, there was like a moment between them, and she was like, what, you know, who am I, why am I here? And she was just saying like, you know, for whatever reason you want, like all this stuff. And so then she went into the real world and lived like a human life, and it's like she was actually realising that she's more than a doll. I mean, that was the main thing. Yeah,
exactly. So which is a shame, because I think they put some woke stuff in there that ruined that message, because for me So I wish if she'd had that little speech, they could have even had that speech, but I wish she'd started it by saying, it's impossible to be human.
Yeah.
I wish she'd said that rather than it's impossible to be a woman, because I don't think the film was as about that as people are saying, and I wish that she'd gone, it's impossible to be human, and then had a speech about how it is to be human, because Barbie wasn't crying because she was learning what it is to be a woman, she was crying because she was becoming human and had all these like flaws.
And she even said herself, I'm sure, like, I'm feeling these human emotions.
Yeah. So I don't know why they had to make it about...
She never actually said herself, I don't think, female.
Yeah.
She wasn't thinking like that. She was like human. What's like the human experience and like more that way.
So yeah, that's what I think it was really about. I think that was the main message of Barbie, was about humanity. And Ken was finding that as well. He was becoming... It was like two people becoming conscious, becoming individualized. Like, he himself was learning to become his own person, and she was becoming her own person. It was like children. They were... it was a kind of, unconscious children in the beginning, and then they grew growing up and becoming real people with their own personalities. And I read it very much as that it was about humanity rather than gender. And it's a shame that because of the climate we're in now, and because the film did have to...
Everything revolves around gender.
It all had to become really divisive rather than a film about humanity, which would have been nice, because I read it as that. I thought, it's actually quite a deep film in some ways, even though it's silly about Barbie. Yeah. It's like, what does it mean to be human? Well, even had that, like you say, scene at the end where, like you were saying, what does it mean to be human? And she was shown.
But I think that's, like, also... At the end, she was very, like, prim and polished, like, all the clothes and her ponytail was perfect, whereas at the end she was just in, like, a normal summer dress. Like, you know, it was very
she was
natural.
It's a difference between, like, a doll and reality. So, the other thing... So, there was that. The other thing that I didn't like, that I thought was... So, I do have a criticism of the movie from a storytelling perspective, and I want to know what you guys think of this. One thing I didn't like was the way that the Barbies saved the day was they... Like, because the Barbies, for some reason, were all brainwashed by Ken's patriarchy. And then to save them from Ken's patriarchy, they, like... I thought this was really just cheesy. Like, even if I agreed with the politics of it, which I don't necessarily think I do, it was just a really cheesy, like... It made me cringe, where they, like, got the Barbies in a van and, like, explained to them what it was like to be a woman under the patriarchy. And that was the thing that hypnotised them, that snapped them out of being hypnotised. And I thought that was so stupid. And really, like, annoyingly woke, and, like, a really... And which I just thought that was really dumb, and again that added like fuel to the fire of the critics of the film. My thought was, because the film actually was so entertaining, and it was very funny and very fun, and it was beautiful to watch. Like, you know, that it took me a while actually to think of like the aspects of the story I didn't like, which in a way is a testament to like how entertaining the film was. But the mother and daughter storyline, even though it was part of it, and quite an important part, at the same time it felt like a little bit of an add-on. Like, they didn't come into the main plot much. I thought the whole point of the story was gonna be about, but they were a bit irrelevant. Like, you could actually have cut them out and not a whole lot would have changed. So I wish, rather than
it was more an excuse for her to go into the real world.
Exactly. So I wish, rather than this weird story of like them unhypnotising Barbies from Ken's patriarchy, that I thought that the way to heal Barbie Land or something was going to be about Barbie healing the relationship between the mother and daughter, because that was set up. That was actually like not great from a storytelling perspective. That was set up as it was going to be a big thing. They had a broken relationship. The daughter didn't like Barbie. I thought Barbie was going to prove herself in some way to make the little girl respect her, and then also to heal the mother-daughter relationship. And even though it was kind of healed, it wasn't that satisfying. I wish more time had been spent on that, and I wish they'd cut out the weird woke part.
It was more,
and focused on that. And
I'd say it was less about the mother and daughter than it was more about the mother and her relationship with Barbie herself. Well, and Barbie, because she was unhappy with herself, wasn't she? That's why Barbie was having those thoughts of like, she was getting cellulite, thoughts about death and all that kind of stuff. And it was more like, she was like going into Barbie Land for herself. Her daughter was just like coming along with her. Her daughter didn't really want to be there.
Yeah, that's true. So I guess that
it was like for her, and she was like, I'm doing it for my mum.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, I'm doing it for us.
Yeah. So that I suppose then is a criticism of how effectively they managed to get across.
Because I wonder whether that mother was probably a representation of the women, because she's about that age that grew up with Barbie in like the 80s and 90s of like, you know, that's like the age that was obsessed with them. So it was more like she was speaking on behalf of everyone who grew up with Barbie.
Yeah.
And like healing her relationship with herself of like, you know, how she looks and the expectations of her, because Barbie's obviously perfect and things like that.
Yeah, I think that's true. But I wish it had focused on that more.
Yeah.
And or on her relationship with her daughter, because then that also emphasises more the motherhood theme, which I think was a theme and they wanted to make it a theme and it was very much part of it, but they didn't do it enough justice and they left it to the wayside a little bit and ignored it. So from a storytelling perspective, I think that the plot kind of got weird then and didn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, what do you guys think about then how the film was, so, like the plot, the characters, character development?
There was quite a lot going on. It was quite confusing.
Yeah,
There were a lot of strings. But
I wouldn't say there was one, like, obviously you'd think Barbie movie, she's the main character, but actually she was the main character, but then there was also Ken was a big part of it. He was also a main character. And then, like you say, the mother and the daughter and things like that. Like, it was just... I don't know, I enjoyed it, and I thought there was a story there, but also it wasn't, like, one character development.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a few stories going at the same time, and they were very shallow. Like, it was never in that depth. And it was only at the end when Barbie really had that moment with Ruth where it was, like, properly in depth, and you felt like, oh... Like, everything else was quite surface level, jokey.
Yeah. I think that's true.
But I guess that's the nature of the film, and not all films have to have a really deep meaning, and, like, it can just be, like, fun.
What did you think of then the set design and cinematography?
Yeah, that was cool.
I thought
That
it was
must have been
really
fun. That must have been fun to work on.
I think, amazing. Loved all the outfits and everything. Like, it was very fun to watch. All the pink, loved it.
I think Margot Robbie was perfectly cast as well.
Oh, amazing.
It lived up to the
She is literally
She did look like... Well, this is a funny thing, because I did tell you guys about this. You hadn't heard of this. The online discourse that Margot Robbie is mid.
Yeah, that's silly.
She's stereotypical perfect Barbie.
Yeah,
she's perfect.
Yeah, I think she was perfectly cast.
But, like, going back to the set, like, the sets and stuff, the way that, like, some people could be like, oh, they didn't spend the money on, like, the transitions from Barbie Land to Human Land. It was, like, cardboard cutouts and, like, what the hell. You know, people might have been expecting some really cool CGI and all this. But I think, I know she did that on purpose, Greta. She wanted it to be, like, a cartoon. That was the point. Like, yeah, it was filmed in Hollywood. Like, she could have got the best CGI and whatever she wanted, but she wanted it to be, like, not real.
Plastic doll
land, because that's what it was. And yeah, it looked shit. It looked like a school play, but at the same time, I loved that. It was good. It was part of it, and it was funny. And it was like the fact they had to get on, like, a rocket and a boat, and, like, I don't know, it was part of it.
And the fact she didn't, like, eat or drink anything like real Barbie. You just hold it to her face, and she, you know.
What did you think about? So people were saying that it was really mean-spirited towards men and made men look stupid when the Barbies were, like, trying to defeat the Kens and they were tricking them. Because
that was so funny.
Yeah, my feeling of that was that obviously it was like I read that as more that was gently taking the piss. I didn't think it was malicious.
I didn't think it was malicious. I thought it was taking the piss out of, like, what girls actually do.
Yeah, it was taking the piss out of both men and women.
You know what? It felt like Love Island, like some weird, like, activity where it's like, you know, all the girls together, like, okay, so what we're gonna do tonight is that, like, you know, it was like sitting around the bonfire.
They didn't do anything, like, horrible and, like, hurt them. They were literally just, like, stealing them away.
But what I find it funny because, like, it was like, yes, it was taking the piss out of men, but gently, I thought, I didn't read it as malicious, but I thought some of it wasn't that inaccurate, which is what was funny. With the, can I sit and play guitar at you? I'll play guitar at you.
Like, men are easily distracted.
Yeah. No,
which is true.
The Godfather.
Yeah,
that's it.
The Godfather.
Yeah, so one of the ways that the Barbies distracted the Kens was like, all you have to do is just tell them that you've never seen The Godfather. And then it was like, it was funny because, you know, the Barbie go, I've never seen The Godfather. And then the Kens will be distracted because they turn, oh my God, and then they go off and, like, completely be just on, like, a rant. Which is funny because I've never seen The Godfather, and that is often the reaction. But I guess when I saw that, I was actually cracking up at that because I was like,
it's true, and it's just, man, it's simple.
But, like...
Joking, guys. Oh my God.
But it took the piss out of women though as well. It wasn't just men.
It took the piss out of women how it was like, Barbie solved all feminist issues in the world, and it was like, you know, and it took the piss out of women in so many ways.
Like, it took the piss out of everyone.
Yeah.
That's the point, and it was funny.
Yeah, but I read it as quite good-natured because it was just quite, it wasn't malicious to the men. And it was just quite cute.
Of women being superficial as well, because Barbie's so superficial.
Like the cellulite.
Yeah.
She cared more about the cellulite than saving Barbie Land.
Yeah, exactly. That was the only reason she wanted to save it, was because she got cellulite and,
And then, like, the men, obviously, you know, got their jokes. and stuff, and like even the human woman's husband, like he was in like 2 scenes, and each he was like portrayed being quite stupid, like trying to learn Spanish, and he was just quite like came across really quite simple.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard people criticise it for that, saying they made all the men look stupid.
Well,
but I think they made. I don't think
yeah,
the women
they did make the men
clever.
look stupid.
But they made the women look stupid as well. So my main thing is, because, you know, basically the ending scene I thought was a testament to this, because you think the ending scene, so Barbie decides, spoilers, to become human.
Yeah, exactly.
She decides to become human, she's joined the real world, and she's in the car with the two, you know, the mother and the daughter that got her from Barbie Land. And she's, you know, she's dressed really smartly with a bag, and she looks like she's going into a big corporate building, and they're like, oh, good luck, and she's like,
she's dressed like the girl boss.
Yeah, she's dressed like a girl boss, and they're like, good luck, and you're like, oh, is this going to be like a feminist message at the end where she goes in, she girl boss it, she gets a job, she's going to be a corporate hyper, and she goes in, she goes up to the desk and like, hi, I have an appointment, and then she's like, I'm here to see my gynecologist. Yeah. And then the movie ends. And that was so great because that took the piss as well out of like girl boss feminism, of like, I'm on top, like you think she's gonna, she's bossing it, she's gonna, and it's literally just that she's a real person now, because there's it's a callback as well to a joke earlier where she said, I don't have a vagina because she's a doll. So it's I just thought that was really funny.
Exactly.
It made her look dumb.
Yeah. So it takes the piss out of them, and it also takes the piss out of guys, but like for everything that we would take the piss out of like each other for here. Go and see the Barbie movie if you haven't already seen it.
Wait, hang on. Is there anything you'd like to say about anything else?
No. We've covered all bases.
Wait, Midori, stop. You're impatient.
We're
not.
Alan, I liked Alan.
Alan was good.
Well, that's funny because that's the other thing about the whole anti-masculine.
How do you find a point in me saying
Alan? Why would you say that?
How do you find a political point?
Alan was like that weirdo that every person has.
No, because Alan was a badass. He beat up so many Kens.
Yeah, he did.
That's my point.
Yeah.
So this whole thing of like anti-masculine, he was like. I was like, he was a beast. Alan was like, he protected. But then they like took the piss. He like protected and distracted the mother and daughter so they could escape. He like was fighting all these.
He took the piss because he was called Alan and he was a massive goon. But then he was like the badass.
Do you not like the name Alan? Do you know how many Alans are gonna be offended by you saying that?
Sorry, Alan. No, but it was like
there will be an Alan.
And also,
this.
It was cast very well because it was what's his name?
Michael Cera.
Michael Cera. Like the.
But he was like that. He was like that guy. Like all like group of girl like friends have this one guy friend who's like
in the corner.
It was just like Alan,
and he was like, guys, I just want to leave.
Like he was there when like all the Kens got defeated.
Are you calling him a beta simp, basically?
Yeah, but then the thing is, that's what you thought he was at the beginning, but then he wasn't. He was actually what you would think the Kens would do. Alan sits in the corner, doesn't do anything, and then he's actually the one that like saved the day.
Is there anything else you'd like to say? And I promise I won't say anything.
Thank you for watching my video.
No, Dory. Do you have any more
subscribe.
points about any of aspect of the film?
No, Galtea.
I like the little.
I hope they make a Barbie too.
It was like, why can't you see the man behind the tan?
But you know what's funny? I've seen like that's become like unironically a kind of I've seen loads of guys like co-opt that song that's like
it's really
like empowering boy, you know,
what was it
song.
like manly take hands or something?
Yeah, and it's like really pro like brotherhood. I don't understand because the Barbies were supposed to set them up to have a war, so they distracted the Kens. But then it ended in a musical dance number, and they were like brothers, men. Yeah. And I thought it was quite sweet, and like the Barbies like the sisterhood, and it was I thought it was like really nice. I just wish they'd ended it fairly. With the Kens, with them, you know, making it better for the Kens. I wish they hadn't gone back to how the world was before, because the film even acknowledged that wasn't fair and was flawed, and I can understand why people have problems with it from that aspect. But overall, I really like Barbie. I thought it was really fun. I can understand why people are saying it's not appropriate for like little kids, but I don't think it was meant for them. To be honest.
No.
So, but it was a really good film. It was really well done. I think there was a lot of sensationalism online of people getting a little bit triggered, to be honest.
People get triggered whatever you say.
But I thought like people like Ben Shapiro's analysis of it was just very over the top and silly, and just
Well, thank you for watching.
I'm desperate. You're so
she
impatient.
can continue.
You're so impatient. Yeah. Okay. So any other?
You know
comments?
what she'll do? She'll tell us tomorrow, guys. Oh, I missed a point out. Can we just like quickly? It will just take 10 minutes.
I would just do a voiceover if that was the case. So any final thoughts?
No.
I'm hungry.
Like and subscribe, hit the button below. Also, if you want, follow DVO Photography.
Nah.
I get a shout out.
I'll edit that out.
No, do it. Yeah, guys, I'm a photographer. No, don't say that. Don't do that. That's so embarrassing. Wait,
I'm gonna put that in now.
no, God, I don't, because I'll sue you.
I'll shoot you.
If you want, oh no, I don't go shy. Shout me out. Shout me out. Go on.
I'm gonna put all this in. Who wants to Angel do the outro?
Wait, Angel. She illustrates pictures.
You're doing that so I do that for you.
Yeah.
She takes photos.
Yeah, I do, guys. I take
I'm gonna
pictures.
shut up.
Follow DVO Photography on Instagram and comment if you think me and Angel should get paid from this video.
Yeah.
And also comment if you want to see us in another video, or if we should just.
another video.
I don't want them to be another video.
No.
You just complained about how long it was the whole time.
Or if we should just take over the channel and call it the Inauthentic Observers and kick her out. Comment below if you want us to do that. I would love it if that actually happens.
I'm not gonna give you my channel.
Yeah, but if that's what the people want,
Yeah. People want.
give the people what they want.
Oh, we've got a dog. We've got a dog running in. Hello, baby. Okay, so that's the end of that. Angel, do you want to do the outro? Say bye. Tell people to like, comment, subscribe.
Why?
Like, comment, subscribe.
Join the Galley family.
I hate
We're just
that.
one big happy family of loving people.
I hate that. That's
all
horrible.
supporting each other.
That's disgusting. Tell them right. You have to say look after yourself. That's why.
Why?
Look after.
Do you want them to look after themselves?
Look after yourselves.
Do they need someone to tell them that?
Probably, Angel.
Look
yes.
after yourself.
Look after yourselves. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
That doesn't leave a whole lot, to be honest.
Right.
Bye.
See ya.